truth is that I was working for Leslie Hindman Auctioneers in Chicago, and I went into her office one day and I said to her, I think I'm gonna quit my job. And she said, well, it's really scary out there. And I said to her, yeah, but I make $780 every 2 weeks. How hard can it be to make that?
You made $775 because
You're right. Thank you. Thank you, my former personal financial expert. You're right. It was $775 before taxes. So I really thought to myself, how hard can it be to be my own boss and make up $1,400 a month? But I would say that what was perhaps distinctive about me in the early days was I would say to these really rich people who had these really big homes, if you want to take a chance on me, I'm a kid. And I know I'm a kid, but I'll work really hard for you, that I can promise. And I will always tell you the truth.
Welcome to Inspired. I'm Alexa Von Tobel. What elevates interior designer from good to world class? It's not just your talent or taste, it's understanding your client so deeply that you create spaces that help them become who they want to be. That is Nate Berkus' superpower. Few creatives embody ambition and reinvention the way Nate does. At just 24, he launched Nate Berkus Associates in Chicago. 30 years later, he's built one of the most respected design firms in the world. He's been recognized on Architectural Digest's 8100 list for nearly a decade. He's a 2-time New York Times bestselling author, a television host, which is where I met him, a producer on 5 major shows, a creative force whose work has reached literal millions, and he's a fellow friend of mine. Nate's story is one of curiosity, resilience, and an infectious zest for life. In this conversation, you'll hear all about what gave him the confidence to start his firm at 24, how surviving the 2004 tsunami changed him, his take on AI and the future of design, and his new book, Foundations, that launches on November 18th. Now, let's dive right in. If you're running a startup, we know things like managing equity and communicating with investors are always top of mind. Carta has built a connected suite of tools that over 40,000 companies use to do just that. Their platform of software and services helps you lay the groundwork so you can focus on building. To learn more or get started, visit carta.com. And with that, I'm so excited to welcome my friend, Nate. Nate, first of all, how fun. I'm so excited to do this with you, having known you for a long time and just so inspired by you on many levels. I want to start from the beginning. I want to dive into your origin story. But first, welcome.
Thank you. I love being with you. You know that. You and I are usually like in the corner of a cocktail party being pretty badly behaved. So I feel like we're very professional today.
Yes, we will bring our professional selves.
I'm trying really hard.
I will try really hard too.
Okay, great.
So, Nate, I want to go back to the beginning. You grew up in Hopkins, Minnesota, and you and I both have Midwestern roots, which is one of the many things I love about you. Where did you fall in love with design? I mean, I know your mom, fun fact, Nancy Golden was a designer who also appeared on HGTV, but where did this love and obsession of design come from?
So my mom's family was all East Coast based, originally, all from the suburbs of Philly. And they cared. My grandmother's house was like sort of assembled. My family on that side had a furniture reproduction company that was like French provincial furniture and English brown furniture. And so I was really always around it. And then my mom, when she divorced my dad, I was 2. She was like 22. And my father got divorced, and she put herself back through design school, and she was always around. I was just always around it, like, to the point where I would come home from visiting my father in California, and my room would be in a different part of the house, completely redecorated, new wall covering, new everything, and I'd be like, "Well, you moved my room." But our house growing up was a lab. And, my mom had a very decent business, as most of her friends were housewives. And my mom had clients, and she was lugging those heavy wallpaper books around and, bringing what her kind of vision was to the Twin Cities, which, as you know, is not by anyone's definition ever considered like a design metropolis. So it was funny because we were that family who dressed a little different, lived a little different, and we ate the same though. Dairy Queen and the State Fair of Minnesota. Those were
God, I
check,
love
check. Still my
DQ.
favorite restaurant worldwide.
DQ. Love me
Yep.
some
Yep. Oh,
DQ.
it's the best.
It's the best.
So I would say it was exposure. And I think what I really do credit my mom at a very early age, which is something I still do today, both with her and with my company, is that weekends were spent at multi-dealer antiques malls and auctions and estate sales. And it was all about having things and searching for things that had real value, both aesthetically and monetarily at the best price, and finding stuff that no one else had. And I am still in pursuit of that at 53.
Which I can attest you deeply are in pursuit of that at 53
No,
still.
100%. There needs to be like a counseling program for how deeply I am ingrained in the auction and secondary market world.
I love it so much. One thing I wanted to make sure I said, so you studied French and sociology at Lake Forest College. That is such an interesting academic mix for a designer. You studied people and culture influence. Um, if you think about that, how do you think that it created any foundation for how you think about design?
Well, I've always believed that design, 30 years into my company, I've always believed that design is part um, magic, part alchemy, and a lot of sociology. I've always believed philosophically that my job as designer is to dream a slightly bigger dream for the client than they can dream for themselves. And so that's where this sort of skill set of scale and sourcing and all of the things that go into properly and effectively assembling a beautiful interior kind of stem from. But it's also my responsibility to look at someone and meet them and pretty quickly understand not only who they are, but where they've been, and also, most importantly, perhaps, who they aspire to be. Because a successful room, when you stand in a successful room, whether it's yours or someone else's, you feel the best version of yourself. And that's not an effortless process. It's a deeply thoughtful, very layered process, but it's a really, that's the alchemy of it. And without the sociology background, without understanding what Susan Faludi was writing, what Jane Goodall was studying, even though that was more anthropology, but still it set me up to think through how to very quickly get people to feel comfortable around me. And that's really what it's all about and what it remains all about.
That's so well said. And by the way, what an incredibly authentic skill set to being able to then be set up as a really powerful designer. Nate, one thing I did not fully know about you was you started Nate Berkus Associates at age 24 in
I
Chicago.
did.
I was a dropout who started my first real company at 23. I didn't know we had that in common, which is that we actually were jailbreak early starting things. Um, what gave you the confidence to do it so young? I mean, I was just a misfit.
Same. No, completely. I was too, Alexa. I mean, the truth is that I was working for Leslie Heinman Auctioneers in Chicago. We called it like the no dental insurance, but like beg your parents for a pair of Gucci loafers and wear them every day. So we all thought we were super fancy in our navy jackets with gold buttons and our shoes with the buckles on them, but we had no money and we were making no money. And that still to this day is pretty much the auction industry, unless you're in like the top 1% of executives and investors. So as a recent graduate and even an intern working in auctions in Chicago, I made $780 every 2 weeks. And I was always late to the Monday morning meeting. And when you were late to the Monday morning meeting, which was right at the front door of the auction house, the entire staff of 70 people or whatever were standing there. And Leslie would go through the sales coming up and the client issues and damages and all the things. And I was always like 4 or 5 minutes late to the 8 a.m. meeting. And her rule was that you had to you walked in front of everybody. So it was always mortifying anyway. And everyone knew, but you had to give her $5 if you were late. And so every Monday I gave her $5 and that was my lunch money. And I went into her office one day and she lit a Salem menthol. She smoked prison cigarettes. And I sat on a radiator because I thought we were really good friends. And we were. And I said to her, I think I'm going to quit my job. And she said, but I was grooming you. I think you really have what it takes. I'm like, you say that to so many people. I don't buy that at all. Will you support me if I start a design firm? That's really what I think I should be doing. And she said, well, it's really scary out there. And I said to her, yeah, but I make $780 every 2 weeks.
You made
How hard can it be to make that?
$75. You made $775.
Yeah, right. Exactly. You're right. Thank you. Thank you, my former personal financial expert. You're right. It was 775 before taxes. So it was, I really thought to myself, the structure hasn't changed very much in billing and in interior design. And I thought, if I have two clients who I'm billing hourly, how hard can it be to be my own boss and make up $1,400 a month? It cannot be that complicated. And so I'm thrilled that I did it at that age. I had no clue what I was doing. I learned along the way. But I would say that what was perhaps distinctive about me in the early days was that I was really open. And I would say to these really rich people who had these really big homes, if you want to take a chance on me, I'm a kid. And I know I'm a kid. I'm not pretending to be an expert in everything. I'm not pretending to have a 20-year-old firm and an established staff. I have nobody. It's me. But I'll work really hard for you. That I can promise. And I will always tell you the truth. If you're willing to let me try, let's try
Good
together.
mantra. What amazing. I will work extremely hard for you and I will tell you the truth. That's a pretty
That's it.
powerful.
And then what happened was many people took that risk. Some didn't, but I would say, they'd say, I am so uncomfortable handing over my budget for my 8,000 square foot home to a 24-year-old kid. And I would say, let's do one room. Let's just try it. Let's do one room together. And if you love it, we'll just keep going. And if you don't, we won't. And so I got a lot of jobs in the early days. I looked the part and I could speak the part, but I'm not a snob. And I never have been and I never will be. And I never wanted anybody to feel uncomfortable working with me ever. And, I recognize that if I could win these people over initially with my authenticity, and being just completely myself and being straightforward, um, then that would lead to an opportunity to show them my creativity and everything else that I knew I could bring to the table. But I was an idiot. Like, I can't even imagine. I showed the business at a loss for like the first 2 years. And I remember when we hired our first accountant, there were like receipts in the door of my car
Nate,
with like gummy bears stuck to them.
Nate, I will attest that there's nothing snobbish about you. You have a warmth where you will walk in or stand next to somebody and make them feel so special. And I do think that is a superpower that you have, which is that you make people feel like the center of the universe. Um, and it's unique. And I think you exude a lot of warmth. One more.
Will you please tell Jeremiah that when you get a chance at drop off? Okay.
I,
I think he needs to hear that from you, but thank you.
No, you make people feel really special. And anyways, I love that about you. One last important thing I wanted to touch on is just sort of a foundation of who you are as a person, which um, when I was younger, I'd lost my dad unexpectedly, and that sort of changed the way I think about life and risk taking, because life is so precious. But Nate, you survived a absolutely wild event that I actually remember watching in college, the Indian Ocean tsunami in 2004. And You are an entrepreneur alongside that, and I just wanted to know, like, how getting through that changed the way you think about life, just generally.
That's still evolving, I would say. I would say that
Great answer.
my fear around it in the immediate aftermath was that I would be weird forever because I felt really weird. When you witness, um, also, I'm sorry to know that about your father. I didn't know that, and I'm sure he would be dying of pride, with everything that you've
He
gone on to
knows
build.
Toby.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Oh, that's the sweetest. Cause she's the sweetest. Oh, that's so great. I'm so grateful his name wasn't Rosie. 'Cause, it's only downhill from there. But, I would say that, the reason I answer that it's evolving is that the initial shock took a couple of years to kind of wear off. But I had so much happening at the time. I had a book going, my first book going to publication that Fernando had shot the cover image of me. I had a line of uh, 80 SKUs launching at Linens and Things in-store Nate Berkus stores in over 1,000 doors that fall. I had all these obligations, and they were exciting, wonderful obligations before the tsunami, and then after the tsunami, they weren't. I had no interest at all in anything that I had been trying to build, been so proud of. None of it mattered. And I remember working with a grief counselor at the time who was really effective. And I said to him, I just want to feel normal, but I don't know if I will ever feel normal again. And he said to me, it's a new normal, and you'll start to understand what I mean. That grief isn't linear, it's cyclical, and that it was okay to not be able to get out of bed on a Tuesday, but then perhaps on the anniversary of the actual event of the tsunami and Fernando's disappearance, I might feel okay that day, and that is also okay. And so I was learning this skill set about how to move through the world post uh, a natural disaster, a traumatic event, and great personal loss. Um, I was very much sensitive to all the loss that was attached to the tsunami worldwide. I knew I wasn't the only survivor story. I certainly didn't feel like the most important one. The locals in Sri Lanka, watching their hospitality to the foreigners and the travelers, that whole culture rose up to protect us, which was also a great life lesson. But I think as I move through the world now, so many decades later, I really think that what it did was it changed me fundamentally by making me feel a deeper connection to people. And that was the great lesson, the great gift that was buried in that experience. Obviously, my whole family, my children, my husband, everyone, but I think I still kind of reel sometimes when I think that I found great love twice. I don't know who that happens to. I'm so deeply grateful for that. So that matters to me. And being able to um, function, thrive, get excited by life. Um, Love brings that into the picture pretty strongly. So I have a really, really solid foundation as a result of that.
Nate, one of the things I sort of learned about myself is that I've always been really emotionally attracted to people that can really see a lot of complexity. That just, we're given this one gift of life, and life is complicated. It's extremely complicated. And I think that's one of the reasons why I just like deeply adore you so much is like you can feel your ability to manage a lot of emotional complexity and be sturdy actually through it all. It's just something that you exude. I want to go to the future and talking about just everything that you've built. But first, I want to say the one fun fact, which is I met you early 2010-ish, where I was your personal finance expert on the Nate Berkus show, and obviously Oprah Winfrey show launched you. You managed many television shows that as a design obsessed person, just really enjoyed watching. American Dream Builders, hosted many shows with Jeremiah. Um, so you launched your design firm at 24, and then went out and managed many large television shows. What about that chapter of your life? Talk to us about that.
About the early days on TV, or about just like the
What,
how it's always been kind of a part of what
what's
I've done?
always been a part of what you've done? What have you learned from that?
So you have to be really dumb to be a part of the Oprah show for 12 years and not get a lesson every time you're in the building. Like you really have to have like earmuffs on and blinders on to not be in that environment of strength and lucidity and authenticity and joy and support, and not take something away for yourself. I mean, her audience for 25 years took something away for themselves every day. And Oprah was aware that she was more of a vessel than she never viewed herself as this big celebrity. She was the conduit to give people information, to show them things, to share stories. Um, so again, I would have to be pretty stupid not to take everything that Harpo gave me and push that out into the world in my own way, which I feel like I've done. I mean, do I love doing TV? Not really. It's not like, it's not my favorite thing in the world. I've never cared about being in Us Weekly or being recognized on the street or whatever. From a business standpoint, it's always been a means to an end. The TV brings the endorsement deals, the TV brings the licensing deals. So because it's not like my great passion, my great ambition to be a TV star, I've been very strategic about what TV has done for me and also what I can do on TV. Part of that is that my husband and I have been the only openly gay family on television for years. We have a huge responsibility to show these kids who when I was a kid, I never saw anybody on TV married to another man, raising great kids, dealing with, I never saw anything that represented that all of our love is the same, that we connect and love and need the same way, no matter what gender we're in. So for me, I recognize that very early on. Um, Funny story. Years ago, Oprah used to do this thing called Fridays Live, and it was a revolving cast of which I was a part of, and it was kind of like a talk, like it was toward the end of Harpo. I think they were trying to figure out what was coming next. So it would be like me, Gail King, Ali Wentworth, Oprah, on a panel, kind of like, you know, the bizarro view. And then there would always be like a movie star, like Hugh Jackman or whoever that week. And we were in a pre-show meeting after the tsunami, years after the tsunami, and Gail said, "Well, I think, gay marriage was just legalized in Iowa. It was the first state to legalize gay marriage. And I think we should talk about that this Friday. And Nate, I think you should lead the conversation." And I said, "Of course, great." She said, "And I also think, I don't think that people know you're gay." And Oprah looked at Gail and said, "What are you talking about, Gail? He talked about the tsunami on this show. Everyone knows he's gay. He's never hidden the fact that he was gay. Gail, you're crazy." And Gail was adamant that the audience was watching and wanted to see what they wanted to see, and that some, registered that, but she felt the majority of the audience didn't register that. So it was a very funny Fridays Live because we ran this tape of these two women getting married in Iowa, and then this footage of all these marriages happening, gay marriages happening in Iowa that day. And Gail just said, "And what do you think about that, Nate?" And I said, "Well, as a gay man, I'm really happy that Iowa has passed this law." But it's an interesting thing. TV has never been the end goal for me. It's always been about the messaging. I believe in the power of it. I believe in the transformation of both people and spaces. And I have a very dodgy, kind of short attention span. So, having had my design firm for many years before I did the first TV makeover back in the day, I loved that it was like 1 week from start to finish. And you have a million producers working and things are being FedExed and construction's accelerated by 6,000%. And I wish I could run every project like that. I would stay up all night for a week and just have the napkin rings ready.
And knock it out. Knock it out.
Knock it out. I mean, it's so satisfying still to this day. And the other great gift I will say, which I'll never tire of, which not a lot of people have ever experienced, is that moment when you're standing with a homeowner, hand in hand, and their eyes are closed and your eyes are open, and you get to say, "Welcome home."
Oh,
Because when they open their eyes, it's like this, it's so powerful, and you can see their vision for themselves and for their lives materialized, and
yes.
hopefully better, like the slightly bigger dream. So it's just like that. I'm not tired of. I could do it for years.
Nate, I remember being on set, and again, I was in my 20s, and would get all dressed up and go and have my 5 minutes. And I remember walking away thinking to myself, "Oh my God, I never realized how hard someone works running a show."
Oh, it's horrible.
I actually physically could feel, and as somebody who's always been, hard work is my superpower.
Right. Yeah. No one's ever questioned your work ethic ever.
From hard work, and I just remember walking away and being like, "Oh my goodness." Like, of course there's all the glamour externally, but internally he works really hard. And I just remember walking away being very impressed by the level of effort that you always put into everything that you do.
Well,
But
let me say something about that, because thank you, number one. Not everybody sees that, and no one needs a pat on the back when you're hosting your own
you
national
really
syndicated
get
talk show.
back when you work really hard.
Well, that's true, and it doesn't matter what that work is, but what the issue with the talk show for me, and by the way, you were amazing, and the simplicity
Love
that you
you.
were able to communicate to me and my audience at the time about financial planning and saving and everything else. I said to my producers before they booked you, "Could you please tell Alexa Von Tobel that I cheated in every math class my entire life, that I would have copied her homework had we known each other." And I said I would, please let her know like what a financial fool I am. And so please tell Alexa that she's also teaching me at the same time that the audience is being taught, which is a formula for massive success. But, and those segments I loved. But I will say this, I didn't like being a talk show host. It wasn't a good job for me. I don't like being trapped in a building. That's not my thing. I need to be out. I need to see stuff. I need to interact differently. I'm not naturally curious. I'm only naturally curious about what I love. So I don't want to hear your chicken recipe. That's not interesting to me. Like, and when you host a daytime talk show, you have to make chicken with somebody every day, at least twice a day. And I don't care about that. I want to clean. I don't want to cook.
That but
Um,
you literally teed up my next question, which is,
yeah,
you are so truly design obsessed. And on this show we get to have the most ambitious people in the world. And you have been on the 8100 list for almost a decade. Your husband is on the list. When you really step back and think about design, true design, you are one of the top people on the planet for design. And what is fun is how absolutely fucking obsessed you are with design. And everybody, you guys should just know that Nate and I were giggling the other day because literally he wakes up and he's like got one eye open to auction markets at all time, trying to pick,
every time, yeah.
curate, and you are so authentically obsessed. And my question is, how do you maintain that creativity? Like, you evolve, and I've even looked at your work over years, and obviously with your incredible new book, which we're going to talk about, it's coming out November 18th. But how do you maintain that obsession? What does it look like?
It's not, you know what? It's absolute zero effort for me.
That's nice.
And, as the oldest sibling, I have three younger brothers on my dad's side. I have a younger brother and a younger sister on my mother's side. And as they were all coming of age, they would come to me because I'd already started my company and they'd say, like, what do you think we should do? And I remember going to the magazine aisle of our local drugstore and saying, show me what you are interested in. Pull them out. Is it People magazine because you're celebrity obsessed or musician obsessed or whatever? Is it sports collecting? Is it memorabilia? Is it architecture? Is it a medical journal? Is it society? Or you want to read Town and Country? Like, I didn't know. And we would take up the pile of magazines and go through the titles, and I'd ask them, like, well, what do you love about this? What do you want to learn more about, even when no one's paying you? And that for me is really the source of what the constant creativity is for me. I don't just love fabrics or rugs or anything specific like that. I love history. I love culture. I love learning about craft. I like seeing the best thing when I'm standing in Cusco in Peru. I want to go to the local markets where the local people shop, not the weird ones filled with Chinese stuff that tourists are supposed to buy. I want to know where people buy their pots and pans because I want to see the placemats and the napkins that they use at home. And so for me, it's design has just always been a really wonderful way for me to translate what I'm naturally curious about and what I really love. And the collecting aspect is so sick. Like, I'm such a basket case around it that, I would way rather have some object for the home, a set of dishes, a beautifully crafted photo frame, a vintage lamp than anything else. It's a very funny. I remember when I met Julianne Moore for the first time, and she was doing the Bottega Veneta campaign. We were at a dinner for this Thomas Meyer, who was the designer at the time, and we were seated next to each other, and we started talking, and she was like, "Oh, I don't want jewelry." And I definitely don't want clothes. I want French furniture from the 1950s. And I was like, and I want to marry you. Like, you and I, how, like, I hope you're making a lot of money on the movies because now I'm gonna send you links all the time from these weird auctions, which I do. So there's relationships built on shared interests, and I love the world of design. I'll never run out of ideas, or I'll never stop learning, and I think that that's also something really special about it.
Nate, my head just exploded because that is literally the best answer, which is it is effortless for you. It is.
Effortless. Don't even think about it.
I actually that feels like my love of entrepreneurship. Like it is. I would do this for free. You don't have to
You're
pay me
fascinated by
$1.
it.
I am fascinated. I will spend all the time thinking about how to figure out how to stand it up, and I call it like it's my playset. It's my intellectual playset. I'm just playing.
Yep. I
Um,
totally get it. They're your Legos. Companies are your Legos.
Actually, they're that's an inside joke, everybody, because my son is psychotically obsessed with Legos. And
He's actually a master builder. Our sons are the same age in the same class, and our sons both are obsessed with Legos. The difference is that I go to pick up Oscar from Alexa's house, and there's like
it's a problem.
the Great Wall of China has been built out of Legos and runs through the entire living room. I'm like, wait, Cashel, how did you do this? He's
My
amazing.
my true design confession is that right now the Colosseum is on our dining table and we don't know where to put it, and it's the full Roman Colosseum, and I can't throw it away, and I'm sort of
No,
stuck. I'm stuck.
no.
But yeah, and Nate does not judge. He's extremely loving to me. No, Nate, that's just such a beautiful answer. It is actually effortless for you. And I think I'm going to ask a question that I feel like I already know the answer to, but you and Jeremiah do this together. I mean, he is also a profoundly talented designer, and you guys have such a beautiful relationship that it also is rooted in creativity. How do you guys make that work? How does that work?
It's really funny. We had to, well, there's two things I'll say. So let me speak to being on TV together, which initially was really hard for me because I was the guy that called the shots for 20 years. And then Jeremiah came in and he was like, I don't like that rug.
By the way, with
And
the
I
best
was like,
hair ever. Can I just be like, guys, sometimes I look at Nate and I like whisper and I'm like, his hair. Like his hair, it's like it is like an actual masterpiece. Okay, sorry, just needed to get that off my chest.
that is really Chris McMillan. Thanks you, by the way. He's gonna, I hope he's listening. But I will say that at in on television when we did our very first TV show together, which was on TLC, we would fight because I was a bit egalitarian. I tried to like hear his perspective, but I didn't really believe him. I didn't trust his instinct. And I knew that we were on a very constrained time frame. And I was used to being the guy. Like, yep, it's this, this, and this. Move on. Okay, it's gonna be that tile. Oh, that countertop's not available. Just switch it. And he was like, excuse me, it's Nate and Jeremiah by design, not Nate by design. This isn't your world anymore. I'm here, and I may not have done this as long as you, but if we're gonna do this together, like you will have the level of respect for me that I'm telling you I need. And to be honest, like full disclosure, it took a few like makeovers for me to be like, oh my god, he's got great ideas. Like this is going to be, because it was very early on in our marriage that we started doing TV shows together. So I learned to trust him in that way, and I learned to also let go, in that way.
By the way, it's a good trick in marriage.
Yeah, no
Leave it like
shit.
that.
God, I
Can't
mean,
please everybody.
exactly.
There's certain things you
Um,
can't like, that's
I mean, it's shocking that someone else's opinion can actually be right when you're so convinced it's not. Like, what? However, when we design for ourselves and on behalf of clients, it's a little bit different, takes a lot longer. It's a little bit more personal, in some ways. And so we figured out some ground rules. And I think the first and most important one is that we are not allowed, if someone gives us a hard no, you would never survive this, Alexa. But if someone gives us a hard no, we are not allowed to try and sell the other person. You have to walk away. So as much as I loved this chest of drawers that I thought would be perfect in our entry, he was like, I hate it. No. And I can't, that's it. End of conversation. So we just keep going until we find a yes.
Wait, that's amazing. By the way, what a good ground rule.
It's a great rule because it's like it's so clear, it's so clean, and I love it. I love an actionable. So it's like, great. That's the rule. There's no bending it. There's
I
no
hope
breaking
someone's
it.
not listening to this, by the way. I'm like, I'm in trouble. But that's such a good rule.
Yeah, and it starts with that, and then you know what? It also is I respect him. I respect him so deeply. He's the father of my kids. Like, I watch how he moves through the world, and I trust him. It's a great, amazing marriage. It's a great love story. He's the best guy, and we have so much fun. We've moved so many times. We've bought and sold. We've renovated, psychotically. But it's our love language. It's a blast. There's nobody I'd rather, argue about dishes with than him. It's just, and I really do think he's like an incredible talent. I knew that 10 years ago, 11 years ago when he started or 12 years ago when he started his firm. He looked at me and he said to me once, "Do you think that I will make it if I choose a career that is," he already had his design firm. It was in the very early stage. But he's like, "Do you think I can do it?" And I looked at him and I said, "I want you to be happy more than anything. If you want to be a potter, then you should be a potter, and that's great. However, if this is your dream for yourself and it has nothing to do with me, and you can stake this as your dream, then by all means, I think there's nobody I trust more. You're going to kill it." And he has.
The key word there is mutual respect.
100%.
It's just it's a really really beautiful thing. We're gonna get to talking about tech and design because you really are in a position to be a thought leader about how that's hitting the world and also all of the things that could worry us about it.
Yeah.
But I want to take a minute because I picked up a new book that I'm pretty pumped, which will be in all my places. And it comes out November 18th. Nate, you've done so much in life. What made you write? What made you put this together? And also, it's stunningly
Thank
beautiful.
you. I didn't want a photo of me on the cover. I wanted it to be like really beautiful, like sitting on a table or in someone's bookshelf. I wrote Foundations. It comes out November 18th. I wrote it because it's more the thought process behind it was also very clear. I wanted to write what felt like a thank you note to anybody who's ever followed me, who's ever bought a bath mat, who's ever enjoyed a TV makeover or seen one of our projects published. And I thought 30 years into this business, I can kind of do what I want. I could put out a $150 monograph of all of the fancy places we've designed and beautiful interiors. Or I could do like a $50-ish book and just put everything I've learned in the last 30 years and every question almost every question I've ever received on a DM on Instagram, on back in the days when people used to email Harpo. We kept all that information and I just spit it all back out in a beautifully photographed volume that's divided by area of the home. So you don't have to read the whole thing, but if you're renovating your bathroom or changing your kitchen or furnishing your dining room, you can turn to dining rooms, bathrooms, and there's styling tips. I made the photographer's stand and take aerial shots of every coffee table, every
Yes.
mantle, every night table, because I wanted people to see the details the way I see them and start thinking about design the way I think about design. There's a lot of information out there. A lot of it is, I find, very self-serving. This is the opposite. This is me taking a mirror and shining it back on everybody that supported me all these years.
Nate, but first of all, you just said something where you're like, I could have done the $150 book, but instead I did. You were a man of the people. You really, actually, I just was like, should we have Nate Berkus run for president, everybody? Like,
Oh my God, no thanks.
you've never been a snob. You pay it forward. You want to welcome people into design. I just love that about you. Okay, I want to talk about the future of design. So we are sitting a few years into an explosion of AI. You and I have had many tech talks about what's happening in AI. We're in a really unique moment where now these incredible computers, LLMs, they're able to do so much. They are able to copy so much. How do you think about the future of design? And I'd love just to get a sense of like, what are you excited about? And like, what worries you?
So again, that has not been linear for me. I I was initially panicked that somebody could put in, show me a Nate Berkus and Jeremiah Brent interior, and here's the photo of my room. How do I do it myself? Obviously, there's so many industries that are going to be affected by AI and be rendered obsolete at some point. Consulting, like all of that stuff, is super scary to me. What I think AI is never going to be able to replace are the relationships that are built with families that we've done 3, 4, 5 homes for, where we know their inventory, we know what they loved, we know what sofa or mantle they stood in front of for every Christmas card. We know how to recreate that in an Aspen house or a Palm Beach house or whatever it is that we're doing because we are a family. We have a role that we play, but we are playing a role in that family. And there's an intimacy around that I don't think will be threatened. For mass and for people who aren't looking to build relationships with a designer over the last 25 years, that is a very different scenario. And I have to tell you, I'm really excited about it. I think everybody deserves to live well. And I was excited when Instagram became massive and design inspiration could be found and accessed by everybody. I was excited when Martha Stewart brought living well to the general public as the first sort of pioneer in our industry. I think the more people talking about it, the more people that have access to it, the more people that um, see how good design can impact our lives and make us more productive, make us calmer, make us feel again like the best version of ourselves in these beautiful spaces, then bring it on. Am I worried that, sure, sometimes it takes a lot to assemble an interior, by the way.
Yeah,
It's not just an image that you can copy and recreate, even if that image has been tailored to you by AI with your top 5 designers and beautifully crafted, visually. What size is it? What fabric is the right fabric that goes there? Like,
the
should it be
measurement,
welted? Should it
measurement
be
stuff.
right? I
Great.
mean, there's 68,000 decisions and details that go into every renovation in every room. So, I think the real designers are safe. I think the Instagram editors should probably be a little bit nervous. The people that just kind of gather all these great images and have a beautiful homepage, but have never installed a room, never faced what it is to manage a project. But overall, I'm bring it on. Like, let's get everybody talking.
I love it, and actually, you kind of just painted a picture in my mind of we really can democratize. Design doesn't need to be reserved for the top 10%. Like it should be something that everybody, and I know that you've always been about that. By the way, I've like bought your Target line. I mean, I have consumed so much of what you've created for people. But I think you're right on that. Actually, one of the questions I was going to add. So obviously, we had Shop My, a company I know you know well, on the podcast, and you've been involved with them. The future of curation is what's happening. I think there's an explosion of more products just in general, right? When you and I were growing up, maybe there were 10 beverage products. Now there's 10,000. If we were going to go buy something from a home store, there were maybe 50 big home stores, but now because of Etsy, and there's 50,000 decisions you could make. And I think curating through that is hard. And at its core, you're a curator. Just how do you think about the future of curation right now? Because that's at its core what you are effortless at, as you said earlier. How do you think about curation and how that's evolving?
I think it's fascinating in that I listen. What the challenge I have around curation, and I am part of Shop My, and I take that super seriously. I review every product that's going on my Shop My page. It's literally all the things I use and wear and put on my face and my hair, and when I find something, I get excited to add it to Shop My, a obscure Portuguese cotton company that make car coats that fit everybody that I wear almost every day. Like, that goes on my Shop My page. um I still have a little bit of a reservation around, like, me as a person in design and in home choosing to share what moisturizer I use. Like, it still feels a little bit weird for me personally. My team is like, what are you talking about? Like, like, move on. So I do it. But I think what I would prefer it to be a little bit more directive. I would prefer there to be a few more guardrails on it. I don't really care. Kim Kardashian is a brilliant businesswoman and an attorney and a really smart investor in many ways. And she knows vintage and she's an auction junkie. I'd like to know that, from her, but I don't know if I care what socks she's wearing.
Yeah, yeah. You're right.
So
There could be guardrails. I like that.
yeah, that's what it feels like to me. Like, I just, I don't know that I ate a burrito on Instagram the other day because my team was like, go to this burrito place. And I was like, I'm only doing this because I really want a burrito.
I love I'm like, I love that. I totally love that. And Also, was really giggling a little bit that your colleagues were like, Nate, it's normal for people to share their creams.
Yeah, no, I mean, they were like, just
You're
move
like,
on. And I was like, okay, all right, okay, I believe you guys.
Um, Nate, one question I want to ask before we move to kind of a quick fire round, and I have some questions I'm pumped to ask you. What, if you step back, what do you think to date would be one of the biggest pinch me moments in your career? Because you've done, I mean, you are truly multi hyphenate. You've written books, you've had shows, you have lines, you've decorated everything that matters. You've gotten every design award that exists. For you, what was a pinch me moment?
They're all. I
Oh,
mean that sincerely. I still have them all the time. And I think when you stop having pinch me moments, you're just dialing it in. I, you know,
oh my
I
goodness.
love
So good, Nate.
they are though. I mean, that is true. I mean, there's the big ones like that we can talk about. Oprah grabbing my hand on my third show that I'd done and saying, Nate Berkus, remember his name. I mean, I'll never forget that moment. Um, but they're all pinch me moments. I was in Boston meeting with a company the other day, and I met all their buyers and all their merchandisers and everybody that makes that company run, and every all the creatives there. And I was like, this is brilliant. I'm sitting at the front of a boardroom with a monitor behind me and playing a thing my team made that, I got to consult on, and I'm sharing with this massive, massive retailer all of my views and ideas visually and explaining why. It's all a pinch me moment. I mean, and you know what else is a pinch me moment? Laying in bed next to my son and listening to him read out loud a book, a Roald Dahl that, I loved it in second grade. It's all good.
You have an infectious zest for life at its core. You like ooze passion and creativity, and you have a spring in your step, quite literally.
It's fun. So do you. It's, you know what? I think that's one of the things that connected us so many years ago.
Nate, quick fire round. So,
I'm ready.
what is your wildest on camera moment?
Wow.
Like,
Whoa.
what was
Let
the
me
weirdest, wildest? We
wildest on camera moment. Okay, this isn't quick fire, and I apologize, but I have to answer this really. I have to answer this way because I have a deep thought about this. Okay.
Go for it.
I haven't had one, and I'll tell you why. And I'll tell you why I think YouTube is the future of TV. The gatekeeping that goes on between the talent and the audience by the networks, by production, by editors, by the whole machine is almost over. And so Jeremiah and I have had fights on TV that don't make it on. We've had, the craziest bloopers and like the funniest things, and also real situations that don't make it on.
Wait,
And
that's so good.
so
You're like it's YouTube. It makes it on.
it would it you in YouTube, it makes it on. There is nothing between you and the people interested in what you are doing and what you have to say. That's it. For good or bad, by the way. Take that any way. It can't all be great. So, but
I love it. I love it. That was a great answer. Nate, what is a design era that you'd love to live in?
oh wow, so many. But if I had to pick my favorite, I would say France in the 1950s.
Oh, nailed it. What's your go-to cocktail?
Um, any Blanco tequila, don't care, with soda and lots of fresh lemon juice.
Love it.
It feels healthy.
Sorry, that's a vitamin.
Feels like I'm juicing.
That's a vitamin.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, Nate, what is a boutique hotel that you love?
I think that the Aman in Laos in Luang Prabang is singular. It is one of the most, if
Wow.
anyone has the opportunity to go there, visit it, even go for lunch or a drink. It was built in a former French colonial hospital. The architecture is amazing, and Luang Prabang is one of the most magical. It's right on the Mekong River. I would say that would be. It's not really a boutique hotel because it's part of that chain, but it's small.
Yeah, the word singular is such a compliment. Oh my God.
It's singular. And Posta Vecchia in Rome, outside of Rome. It's unbelievable. It was the former Getty mansion. It was built for the Orsini family, who have a medieval castle next door, and this villa, this insane villa, was built to house their guests. So it still has the spirit of hospitality like that.
I love that so much. Favorite city?
New York,
Oh God, great answer.
I love it so much here.
Oh, we
It's
love
the
it.
best.
Okay, last two quick questions. What is a mantra that kind of just like runs through your body? A saying, a belief?
Um, it's that Maya Angelou, when people show you who they are, believe them the first time. It's Maya Angelou or Toni Morrison. I can't actually remember who said it first. It's been repeated so often, but I really feel like it applies to everything. It applies to business. It applies to signing new clients. It applies to um, meeting a mom at school. Like, it's just believe people. They're showing you who they are. Just listen.
What a beautiful, that's beautiful. And I'm going to end on a fun one since we have so many kids in common and I'm so fortunate to be a friend and fellow parent. What is like a parenting mentality that you can pay it forward to people? Because I get to see what a beautiful, beautiful parent you are.
I have always been really hesitant to give other people parenting advice because I think it's such a deeply personal journey. I also think my children would be awful if it were just me. My husband is so consistent and like unbelievable. He's like the disciplinarian and the one that they run to get in trouble with and the one that they run to when they hurt their knee. So he's got a lot of that on lockdown in our family dynamic. But I guess one thing I would share is that we really don't have any expectations of our children other than to be kind, and that's kind of it. You know, we want them to do well in school. We want them to, but we when we go for conferences, we say, did they try? Are they kind? Um, I think that we're really set up to welcome whoever those kids evolve into being. We can be as structured around them as we need be, but the truth is that I don't need to live out any dreams of my own through my children.
I think that is such a beautiful place because they are the most important work that we will
Well,
ever.
they are, and our daughter is 100%. I will say this to all of your faithful listeners: there is no one she's more interested in than Alexa Von Tobel. She is like Girl Scouts. She's like, and then
I was her
Alexa
Girl
told
Scout
me
troop leader. I
she
was her
is
Girl Scout troop leader.
obsessed. She wants the whole deal. She
I
wants the hair, the lipstick, the investment firm.
oh,
She wants the whole thing.
wait, Pop. I will work for Poppy. We'll just we'll end there. Um, Nate, I absolutely truly love you. When you walk in a room, my heart actually perks up, and that is a feeling that's the highest compliment I could give somebody.
That's a big one.
And I just want to say, just continue creating. You inspire me, you inspire others, and you really are one of the most interesting people I've ever met. So I love you. We're rooting for you, guys. This book is gorgeous. I'm gonna, by the way, sit with my tequila, and I'm gonna literally style coffee tables tonight. That's how Cliff will find me. But just thank you so much for giving us your time.
Thank you so much for your time. And I love being together. So thanks again.
Thank you all so much for tuning in today. If you enjoyed the episode, please rate, review, subscribe, and we'll be back again with another episode of Inspired with Alexa Von Tobel. Thank you.